Welcome to the Great on Purpose podcast. My name is Alfonzo Alexander and I am your host. In each episode of this podcast, you will have the opportunity to get to meet leaders from various backgrounds, various industries who are really just cool people doing great things on purpose. They are pursuing their purpose and pursuing greatness and walking in lockstep as they do it. You'll understand what we mean more about that as you get into the podcast. Our goal here is to help you understand that being great is not just something that happens. It is something that has to be done on purpose and in alignment with your purpose. Therefore, this is the Great on Purpose podcast. Enjoy.
Today's episode, Leading with Relationships, features Alfonzo Alexander's conversation with Jonathan Porter, Senior Vice President of Customer Operations for Alabama Power Company. He provides strategic leadership over customer operations, including the company's business offices, customer service center, business service center, and online customer care for Alabama Power's 1.4 million customers. Take a listen.
Hello and welcome to the Great on Purpose podcast. I'm Alfonzo Alexander. Glad that you are here to join us today because we are still talking about how you can focus and be great on purpose. You know, greatness is not a one-time achievement. Greatness is a journey, something that you work toward over a portion of your life. And being great on purpose really speaks to being in alignment with your purpose, as well as being intentional about strategically making some of the right moves so that you can excel, so that you can be the best who you are and achieve greatness. Today you have a special person that you're going to hear me have some conversation with. This guy is a tremendous example of being great on purpose. Over the years, I have seen him mature as a leader and develop as a leader and make the right moves that he needed to achieve his career. I'm not going to tell you what all he's doing. I'm going to let him do that, but want to make sure that you know that Jonathan Porter is an example of someone who is great on purpose. Jonathan, welcome to the podcast, man. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Alfonso, and I thank you for those extremely kind words, sir. You are far too kind.
Hey, man, no, just truth, man. Just speaking truth. So tell everybody that's listening, man, and remind those of us that already know you, what you got going and what you're doing with your life and career right now.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the time and I appreciate, again, the opportunity to just share with you. But right now, I currently serve as Senior Vice President of Customer Operations at Alabama Power Company, which is a part of the Southern Company, a major Fortune 500 company, primarily based in the Southeast, although we do have operations in Illinois and parts of the Northeast. But yeah, I serve as Senior Vice President at Alabama Power Company, been with them now full-time about 21 years. But as you well know, Alfonso, I started at the tender age of 17 with Alabama Power Company. I was their first inroads intern. And so I interned with them while I was in college, did not hire on full-time with them. Went on to work with another Inroads sponsor, Protective Life. Actually worked with Inroads where I met you. And you became not only my boss, my friend, but also my mentor. And been back at Alabama Power since I transitioned from Inroads 21 years ago. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm also serve as chairman of an international sporting event called the World Games. I'm chairman of the board of the organizing committee for Birmingham, and the World Games will be in Birmingham next summer, July 7th through the 17th. So we'd love to have all of your cohorts down from Nashville, driving I-65 to Birmingham. We're going to have about 3,000 athletes from over 100 countries for 2 weeks in the great city of Birmingham, and we're expecting about 500,000 spectators. So we're going to have a good opening and closing ceremony, very similar to the Olympics, but it'll be an exciting time to be in the magic city of Birmingham.
Man, I'm looking forward to that. I know you told me about when you guys were putting the bid together and how excited you were about that. So congratulations, one, for landing it, two, for your role in it. And I know if you're involved in it, man, it's going to be top shelf. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. And I always just try to help give people some context, and you touched on it a little bit here. already when you were giving your introduction, but I'd like for people to know how we know each other, because part of leadership is connecting. And so from your perspective, and I'll share mine as well, what has our relationship been for you in your life?
Yeah, well, again, I touched on him a little bit. I had the pleasure of meeting this young man probably in 1998 as I transitioned to Inroads. And in that role, I think at the time you were the manager of the Memphis office of Inroads, and the managing director, excuse me, and I was a manager of student services here in Birmingham. And, I would tell you, Alfonso, you talked about the importance of relationships. And I think that, some relationships happen organically. Some you have to put more time and effort into. But fortunately enough, at least for me, I think you and I had so many, things that we had in common, and we just kind of connected. And I know you don't want everybody to know how much older you are than me, but I consider you like a big brother, and you really helped, in my opinion, just kind of shape who I am today. There were feedback that you gave both formally and informally that maybe you don't know you were doing, but I took those things to heart. Some were subtle, some were more direct. But again, I think the importance of relationships is, one, having relationships that are based on substance, and not, artificial or material deals. And that's one thing that we have. So we've been rocking together since 1998. And although we both transitioned from Inroads, we have continued to stay in touch and be connected. And when you're in Birmingham, there are things that, you always make me aware of, and we connect. So the relationships are extremely important. And I always tell folks, you want to make sure that the roots are deep in relationships, very similar to a tree. Although, storms may come through and tear down limbs off a tree, as long as those roots are there, that tree is stable and it's not going anywhere. And that's the way I consider our relationship.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate your kind words, man. And as you and I have talked before, we have to make sure that we work to do well and do well by each other and pour into each other when we can, man. And so it's been a pleasure over the years pouring into you, as well as hearing from you and learning from you as well, man. So those roots are definitely strong, and they're growing in both sides.
That's right.
Not just on your side, man. You bless me as well, which is why I wanted to make sure that we got a chance to let other people get to know you and who you are as a leader and kind of what you're doing in life, man, because I'm really proud of the man that you have become, and always knew that you had it in you. You only challenge, man, is you support the wrong NFL team, but outside of that, man, you're a good guy.
Well, I'm a Cowboy for life, Alfonso. As you and I both, several years ago, you were gracious enough to let me attend the Titans-Cowboys game. I don't know how many years ago. I do believe the Cowboys won that game, for the record. It's I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan for life, Alfonso.
Yeah. We'll see if we can work on that, man. But everybody, you can't be perfect, brother. You can't be perfect.
That's right.
Yeah. But man, I have watched you grow as a leader and been really impressed with your growth over the years, man. Why don't you share with me what you would consider to be a major thing that you can attribute to your growth as a leader?
Yeah, Alfonso, as I think about the question, and me, I'm a basic blocking and tackling kind of meat and potatoes type of person. So I will tell you and the guests here that you're not going to get an epiphany or anything like that from me, things you haven't heard. But for me, one of the things that I think people discount a lot about leaders is I believe that leaders still always have to have a level of humility as they lead. I try to make sure that, no matter what goals I've achieved, anything I've accomplished, I've remain humble, as I'm dealing with folks. Try to continue to demonstrate myself as a servant leader by listening and being, there on the forefront, building relationships with the folks that are on the front lines. Again, as I mentioned, my role is Senior Vice President of Customer Operations, Alabama Power Company. Once a quarter, no one told me to do this, but once a quarter, I visit with all of my employees throughout the state. And as I go around the state, going to our offices and to our call centers, I talk to them about themselves, their families. It's not so much about what's going on at work. Surely we have some conversations about that, but it's about building, again, that relationship, the network with my team members that are doing the work at the end of the day, right? And so for me, I never want to be considered just the senior VP from Birmingham. I want them to know me personally as Jonathan Porter. And I think those are just some attributes from a leadership perspective that have helped me. And, the old adage that nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. I think that's very important that we, as leaders, spend the appropriate amount of time, building relationships with the teams and letting them know that, guess what, you make mistakes too, you're human, but no man is an island, and, we all in this together, so.
Man, that's awesome, man. I couldn't agree with you more. And I love the fact that an emphasis in your leadership style is on humility and on how you are showing care and concern and empathy for your people that you lead, man. Because if they know you care, they'll run through brick walls for you.
That's right, Alfonso. I try to tell my employees, for me, and I heard this somewhere, so I'm not, stealing anyone's thunder. I can't tell you where I heard it from, but I read or heard somewhere that, humility is not thinking of yourself less. It's about thinking about others more. And that's one thing that I try to communicate to my leadership team as well, that as leaders, we need to be thinking about others more. And there's a book that I read years ago by a writer named Simon Sinek, who also wrote a great book, Start With Why. One of his other books I love is Leaders Eat Last. And so, that's something, again, just showing how as a leader, you should be doing everything you can to make sure that your people are safe, they're in good work environments, and like you said, they'll knock down doors for you.
That's right. That's right. Some of that, I know you learned the concept of some of your leadership from your athletic background. You probably had coaches that you loved to play for. You probably had some coaches that you played for because you had to. But how has that shaped your leadership style? Oh,
absolutely, Alfonso. I know you've been a former athlete as well. Through sports, you learn so much about, first and foremost for me, is discipline. And understanding your role on the team. Yeah. And, I was a fullback / tailback, and, I can't throw the ball, I can't block. So I need to understand how my role fits in the bigger aspect of the team. So discipline is one thing. And then, as I mentioned, the teamwork, just understanding roles and responsibilities, because you can have the best talent in the world, but if you're playing out of position, it's not doing the team any good. And so there are a number of things that I use daily that I contribute and look back to, things that I learned playing football many, many years ago.
Yeah, it's a great training ground for leaders, isn't it? When you look at how you interact and have to interact with so many people on a team, maybe 100 other players on the team, at least 11 guys on the field at the same time. So, it's a major opportunity to learn and grow leadership and interpersonal skills. Jonathan, man, when you look back, and first, just so everybody understand, you mentioned going and seeing your employees quarterly across the state.
Yes.
What's the scope of your responsibility? How many employees do you have across how many offices in Alabama?
Yeah, so in my role, again, I'm responsible for all customer operations around the state. So Alabama Power has 1.5 million customers, but we also have 6 regional divisions. And so, I have roughly a little over 600 employees. And that's down some as we continue to use technologies to be a little bit more efficient and things of that nature. So I think I'm budgeted around 625 or so employees, but they're spread throughout the state. And it does take a commitment to hit that many employees, once a quarter. But it's important to me. It's important to me. And I think that, just through being very intentional about that, and also the proper planning, just going ahead and getting on my calendars the first of the year. And also I make sure that I do what I say I'm going to do. I've shared this to my employees that I do that. Actually, in the first quarter, I was traveling down near Montgomery area. It was a day that we got snow in the central part of the state. And I knew the snow was coming, but of course, it being Alabama, I didn't think it would be heavy, but it ended up being heavy. But needless to say, I was there. And for me to show up in the middle of a snowstorm, and I get feedback from my employees all the time, and now they are so connected and look forward to me coming. They know that, hey, Jonathan should be here this quarter. When I walked through the door, they were like, we were looking for you. So, although, it means a lot. You never know who you're touching by being, personal with them. And I don't have to do it like the TV show where Undercover Boss. They know I'm coming. They know I'll roll up my sleeves and get in there with them to make sure we're servicing the customers here at Alabama, and it means a lot to them.
Man, that's awesome, man. And you're right. You never know who's watching you, because a lot of people are learning and developing their leadership, their communication, their interpersonal styles based on things that they pick up from people they respect. So as you continue to do what you're doing and be a man of integrity, and they see and hear and understand that, that's just going to help build them, and the people that you lead will be better as a result of it. So man, I'm glad to hear that. If you were sitting in a room full of young professionals just out of college looking to make their way into their careers, what's some advice you would give them?
Yeah. Great question, because we've all been there, right? And now that we're kind of long in the tooth now, Alfonso, we can share some of this with them. And, so a couple things. And the first thing I'll begin with, like I said, I'm kind of meat and potatoes, basic blocking and tackling. I would like everyone to know that you can't discount hard work. Right. I think a lot of times, relationships and networking and all of that is very, very important, but you can't discount hard work. I tell folks all the time, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Right. Mm-hmm. And as an ex-running back, right, I understand that if I'm averaging 6-7 yards a carry, I'm going to keep getting the ball. Right. Yeah. But that comes through hard work. So I would say that, and you and I both know, and we've read, the book, Understanding the Organizational Game and the Power Formula, where you're talking about, performance plus image, plus exposure, equals success. And we all understand that, performance is a smaller piece of that percentage of success, but performance, if you're not performing, you're not even in the game. Yeah. Performing is your ticket into the game. So even when I deal with my employees, I definitely want to celebrate with them, but meeting expectations, that's what we get paid to do, right? So always focus on working hard and not just meeting expectations but exceeding expectation, because the more you go above and beyond, the more doors will open up for you. Now, with performance out of the way, you definitely have to make sure that you are exhibiting, demonstrating the right image. That old saying is not kind of what you know, but who you know. That's true, but it's also important who knows you and how they know you, right? Based on that image and that you've developed over the years, whether good or bad, right? So it's very important that you manage. Some people use use the word brand, but it's important that you manage how you're being seen. So especially, I have a 17-year-old at home. I mean, when you're talking now, I didn't have to deal with social media like everyone has to do now. But you need to be mindful of things that we're doing on social media, because whether we like it or not, those can have positive or negative effects. And then lastly, that exposure. We talked a lot about the importance of relationship. You just never know at some point in your life who can help you based on those relationships. And it is about relationships. The things that I've been able to do in my career, I've been fortunate enough that I have a network where I can pick up the phone and get things done. And so it's important to have mouthpieces out there that are speaking positively on your behalf, and that network that you can pick up and have at your, I don't want to use the word disposal because it goes both ways, but being able to help others out to achieve their goals.
Yeah, it's an asset to have a strong network. And you and I have talked. You've heard me say plenty of times that that whole performance, image, and exposure is critical to leadership and career growth and success. Absolutely. And in fact, I tell people all the time, not just the people who know you, but you know the right people, as you mentioned, but then how they know you and the context that you mentioned is so very critical. I know a lot of people for the wrong reasons, right?
That's right.
And they have the wrong reputation. But if you got the right reputation and the right people know it, then that's one of the greatest assets you can have. And Absolutely. You need that network.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you never know. I have a buddy of mine that played football with me at Tuskegee, and he's now director of software engineering for Microsoft Global. And
Sure.
We were looking for big sponsors for the World Games because of this network and relationship. I called him up, and in his position, he was able to open additional doors for me at Microsoft. And we're in conversation with them, and we feel pretty soon, and we have all indications that they're going to be joining us here. So again, you just never know, where those relationships will end up, and how they can be of value to you in the future, and also how you can be of value to someone else.
Yeah. Because the other thing that you touched on, Jonathan, is so critically important, man. In those relationships, it's not always about taking.
Yes.
In fact, if I were talking to you and you were 22 years old and you asked me for some advice around networking, I would tell you, give twice as much as what you expect to receive.
Absolutely.
Because the more you give, the more you share of yourself, then it'll come back to you. It'll come Absolutely. Back in ways you don't even expect.
Absolutely. And as you know, Alfonso, I'm a product of Tuskegee University, and of course, our lead guy and first president, Booker T. Washington, one of his quotes that I love is he said, there's two ways that a man can exert his strength. One is by pushing down and the other by pulling up. So to your point, when you're talking about relationship, I've always tried to pull up where possible and to give more than I take. And I believe as we talk about, earthly and financial deposits, you can have spiritual deposits, you can have, all type of deposits out there. So when you do may need to pull on, those deposits you have in, people will be more than willing to answer your call. If Alfonso wasn't the man he was and he called me, asked me about a podcast, I probably would be busy today. But because he has deposited so much in my life, he definitely can withdraw from my time.
Man, I appreciate it. I'm going to have to let you come to another Titans game too then behind that, man, when they play the Cowboys. Now, particularly now that we're a little more competitive now,
That's right.
Yeah. So man, what is it? What else is going on in your life, man? Is it what's keeping you excited right now today, man, in terms of something cool that's going on in your life that may be a little bit different?
Yeah, and I would say outside of, the busy job at Alabama Power and of course the World Games, which is cool. The World Games, as you know, Alfonso, I grew up with a single mother that raised 3 kids by herself. So the World Games really has afforded me a great opportunity to do some international travel, and that's been good. But here's what I would say to your question. What's really exciting to me, and it may again be very simple, is just really seeing the growth of my daughters. I have 2 daughters, one 17, one 11. And again, having grown up, with a single mother, I really take pride in being, a good father. I tell folks, all the time. I believe that's the toughest job I have. My job at Alabama Power and the World Games is definitely challenging, but the toughest job I have is trying to be a good husband and trying to be a good father. So, and with my schedule being so busy, anytime that I have my girls, just seeing them grow up so quickly, transitioning to womanhood, so to speak. That's what's most exciting to me in the conversations that we have about life, about things to do and not to do, but also allowing them the autonomy to establish themselves, their own personalities and be their own persons, because they definitely don't need to be their father. But over time, I hope they will realize, like I did, no matter how much you try to fight it, fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. So I think there have been some things that hopefully I've imparted into their lives that, will take them a long way. But for me, that's what's most exciting to me right now.
Man, that's good stuff. That's awesome. Speaks to your character and your leadership, not just in the work environment, but also at home, man. So appreciate that. One of the things that, Jonathan, you probably remember about me is I'm always interested in how I can be helpful. So my next question is, and you gotta give me a real answer now. You can't give me some little, some little cliche or some little surface something, but how can I help you, man? What can I do for you?
Well, that's you're prefacing my response by no cliche and all of that. Alfonso, you know me well enough, and going back to a question you asked about attributes about a leader, one thing you know about me is that from the first day you met me in '98 to now, I've been Jonathan Porter. So, right. One thing I will add to that statement is I believe that leaders need to be authentic, right? Because we all have experienced leaders that, they got sound bites. They sound good or they say something, but they don't act on, what they shared. So, the only thing I would say to you is how you can help me, brother, is just continue to be the man that you are, continue to do the great things that you are doing, continue to be that friend and the authentic friend that you've been from day one. Because although we may not talk as much as we have in the past, again, when you have friendships that are authentic, that are based on substance, I know you always are going to be there. So, how you can help me, man, is just continue, as we get older, maybe we do need to spend more time together when we can, make that happen. I'm definitely going to take you up on that Titans Cowboys game. But other than that, brother, just keep being Alfonso, keep making a difference in the lives of others, because as you and I both know, that's going to be, what people say about us is when we leave here is, what impact did we have on others? And you've been doing that a long time. So, the more disciples you have out there, the better. So keep doing that for me, my friend.
Well, I'll definitely do that, man. And I think we've been trying to get on a golf course for a few years too, haven't we? We need to try to make that happen sometime soon too.
Hey, look, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen, and let's make it happen within the next 30 days. How about that? Or let's say next 60. Let's 60. Give us a little bit of room. Next 60 days before it gets too cold, because I don't like playing golf when it's cold.
No, I 50-degree rule for me, man. It's got to be over 50 or I won't do it. Yeah, we'll do that, man. We'll need to catch when you're gonna hit the northern part of Alabama to see some of your folks, and maybe we'll kind of book something around that, either North Alabama, or we'll get you to come here, man, and go over to our club, man. I think you'd enjoy it.
We'll make it happen. Tonight, I'll be leaving here in about 30 minutes, headed to Atlanta. We have a great event tonight. We got a Road to Birmingham series that we're starting to do in communities in the Southeast about the World Games. And so we're kicking off tonight in Atlanta at the College Hall of Fame. But Nashville is one of the cities we're going to have on our list. So I'm going to definitely, get with you on that. Maybe you and your network, you can help us get the word out. And maybe we also, as I'm scheduling this event, can schedule to come in early and play a little golf as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that, man. Consider that done. I'll help spread the word any way I can. Got a couple organizations that I think would be good for you guys to be in front of, so we can make that happen for sure.
Good deal.
No question at all, man. I look forward to it. Look forward to us getting together and spending some time on the golf course too.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
The way I golf, we'll spend a lot of time on the golf course.
Well, it takes me a while too, so so
we won't be 3.5 hours and out. It may be around 5 or so, but we'll get finished. I know that.
And we won't be mad at each other, right?
No, right. We'll have fun.
That's fun. Right. That's right, man. That fun and fellowship is what it's about. So, Jonathan, anything you'd like to share in closing with the group?
Well, again, I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for what you're doing. For those that are listening to the podcast, one thing I always try to share with folks, Jonathan Porter is just one data point, but I do think that, as we all continue to broaden and strengthen our networks, as Alfonso kind of mentioned I like to kind of, when I deal with folks and leadership styles, the analogy I use it as a cafeteria style. It's laid out for me. I get to pick and select what I want and try to make it what's best for me and what fits for me. So again, as we close, I just think one of the key things in closing as a leader is just being authentic as much as you can, that level of humility and having that mindset of helping others out and giving back. So I've tried to exhibit those things. I have been perfect, and the more I strive for perfection, the more I realize how imperfect I am, but the striving is what keeps me going. So I want to again thank you, Alfonso, for your time, and I'm honored that you even thought to have me on this podcast. So thank you, my friend.
Hey, man, no thanks necessary, man. It's a pleasure to have you. You've been wonderful. You shared some amazing nuggets of wisdom with our folks out there. I know they will appreciate it and grow from it and pick some of the items that you put in the cafeteria line to be able to use to help them progress within their careers, man. I'm really proud of all the things that you're doing. Appreciate your leadership style. Excited to see what happens with the World Games, man. I'm just amazed at the things that you guys are doing through that. And I definitely want to come down and check out some track and field and some other events when it happens. So you 500,001.
Okay, sure. Good deal.
You can include me in there, man.
We would love to have you in the Magic City of Birmingham. When you're here, we want you to stay in the hotels, eat all the food, get all the gas you need to help our local economy.
That's right. And I'm sure that I'll do plenty of eating while I'm down there. So absolutely. I'll help the restaurants out for sure. All right. Well, man, we'll have to bring you back sometime, man, and talk about after that experience is over, talk about, what you learned from that and the impact on your life as well as the city of Birmingham, man. So again, congratulations on that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for listening to us today. I know that you have been blessed and benefited from hearing Jonathan and the things that he's had to say. Jonathan, again, is a great example of achieving greatness as he's on that journey, but being purposeful about it. I remember when Jonathan went back to get his MBA and the process of thinking and the decision-making that he went through it. I remember when he decided to transition from one company to another, back to Alabama Power, and just how thoughtful he was. Again, he didn't just fly by the seat of his pants. He was intentional about the moves that he made, and therefore he is achieving greatness and striving for greatness on purpose. So this is the Great on Purpose podcast. Jonathan is an example of that. Thank you guys for listening, and Jonathan, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Great on Purpose podcast. I am Alfonzo Alexander. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook so that you can continue to hear stories and get information that can help inspire you to be great on purpose.